what? I thought you were using Yusuf Ali. I'll jump to 424. And the fortress, quote, the merit of women, except what your right hand possess. So it does say that. It does say what your right hand possess. Well, what's the difference? It means here that the use of the word the fortress instead of married is to emphasize that when a woman is married to someone else, she is like a fortress, which is a sign of unacceptability. Right. But notice, there was no period. So when, quote, except, unquote, comes in, it sounds like you can have sex, quote, marriage, unquote, with married slave women, quote, what your right hand possess. I don't see how anything has changed here. Are you sure you are translating it right? A place that you cannot enter or access. This is a place that you cannot enter or access. And this is what I meant when I said it's a beautiful use of word. Right. It's beautiful that you can't have sex with married women. Notice, though, how you are completely blind to, quote, accept those whom your right hand possess, unquote. Meaning that married slave women you can have sex with. Have, quote, marry, unquote, with. It needs a period, sir. Not an, quote, accept, unquote. That, quote, accept, unquote, destroys your argument completely. How can it not? As we're to the genius of choice of words, which can be appreciated even more if you read it in Arabic, and you know Arabic. So you do know Arabic, yet you can't translate it into English? Does that make sense? Forget any translation in English here. Put how it's supposed to really sound in translation, in English translation. Because really, there is an, quote, accept, unquote. There's the word accept, and not a period after, quote, forbidden to you are married women. Do you see how it needs a period right after, quote, married women, unquote? The accept throws a big, huge, clunky, rusty monkey wrench into your argument, and in the process removes or greatly eases African-American complaints, the gripe for the time the U.S. had slavery. You need to translate it from the real Arabic and not use all the English versions of the Quran that I know of. However, there is one English version of the Quran out of the 10 or so English versions that I know of that doesn't sound like the rest. It says, quote, forbidden to you are married women, except those that flee their disbelieving husbands who are at war with you. That's the one you will say is the real translation of the Quran into English, I bet, won't you? All the others are in conspiracy to remove African-American complaint. But that one, well, hey, that's the one that has it right on. True? Now, I don't see mentioning of married slaves, and I don't see anything wrong with those verses. You don't see them, or you refuse to see them. If you don't see them, put how it's supposed to really sound. All English translations of the Quran I've seen have it as the way I see it, except for the one that says, except those that flee their disbelieving husbands who are at war with you. But I bet that the Muslim who wrote that was performing jihad at the pen, al-Taqiyya, true? It simply states the case when marriage is prohibited, which is in the case of incest and indirect family, and in the case of married women. Married women means any female person who is married, which can be a slave, queen, black or white, Chinese or Swedish. Any female who is married is prohibited to marry her. I'd agree with you. If there was a period right after, quote, married, unquote, women, if it was right after, quote, married, quote, married women, unquote, instead of the word except. The Quran is not saying it's prohibited to marry married women except married slaves. Then put how it's supposed to really sound. Put a period right after prohibited to you are married women. You need a period, man, not an, quote, except, unquote. You need a period. It It simply doesn't make it doesn't make sense logically and grammatically. Right. It simply doesn't make sense logically and grammatically if you can't have sex with married slave women. Boy, does it not make sense if you can't have sex, I mean, quote, marry, unquote, with married slave women your right hand possess. It doesn't make sense at all, because there is no period. Instead, there is an, quote, an except, unquote. I used two examples before to explain them. I used the foot example, and used the X, Y, and Z example, and you still don't get it. Bingo! I sure don't get it, for sure. I think there is something wrong with you. Yeah. You wish? I will get back to you on the rest of your message. Okay. I didn't read it all the way. I will read it later. Okay, anyway, have a nice rest.